My experience of Round the Horne, I think, probably like a lot of kids, was listening to cassettes and on the radio on long car journeys, and that my father was putting on. It was Round the Horne, it was The Men from the Ministry, Hancock's Half Hour, all those episodes from the golden age of English comedy. And I just remember being captivated by the manic quality, the jokes that would get, obviously as a child, probably as a lot of adults as well, would go over your head. And just thoroughly enjoying it, finding it magical and joyous, which is a word that a lot of people have been saying to us as audience members, meeting them afterwards. It's a very joyous show. I think the characters or the actors that I remember all resonated with me at that time, first listening to Round the Horne. Probably would have been Kenneth Williams, to be fair, and not because I'm playing him. I think because Williams was such an iconic figure, had a huge status, certainly because of the Carry On films, and through the 70s into the 80s due to his huge exposure on the television chat show circuit with Wogan and Parkinson and whatnot. He was just this wonder to behold. And in Round the Horne, of course, that voice, which is so iconic, you know, you've only just got to hear it, yes, and all that, and you go, oh, God, yeah, I recognise that guy from the Carry-Ons or from Will-O'-the-Wisp. And that was lovely growing up, because for you, it wasn't just, oh, I wonder what those characters sound like on radio. It was, oh, I know that actor, I know who that is. And, you know, for a 7-year-old, that's rather sweet. And, of course, being introduced to Betty Marsden and Hugh Paddock, and this gorgeous honeytone voice of Round the Horne, of Kenneth Horne rather, was, yeah, they all have very specific memories for me, certainly growing up. I think I first realised that I could do Kenneth, so to speak. I'm quite young, I think. My voice must have broken in order to get that sort of timbre that naturally occurs in Williams' voice. I don't know, I was probably about early teens, I would guess. I think probably again from watching the Carry-Ons and whatnot. And I've, being a voice actor as well, I've always been interested in voices. My passion is other people's voices. And I think from a very young age, I was always interested in not just always unusual, but just different voices, different expressions, or the way people express themselves. And he was just one, I think, that I did quite earlier on. And then, of course, that, you know, I've been doing voices ever since, but he was certainly one of the first, I must confess. What makes Kenneth Williams so iconic? It's a very interesting question, and I think it's something that people ask themselves all the time. I think during his lifetime he was, as he self-proclaimed, I am a cult figure, I am one of the biggest cults you'll find around here, sort of summed him up in his own lifetime. He was so... he was such a unique individual in his voice and his mannerisms. I mean, even when he was being serious and saying something often very, very serious and very heartbreaking, often in later life on chat shows about his illnesses or this or that. He was a terrible hypochondriac, bless him. You know, people would laugh, and obviously that was part of the intention. There was that... I keep just saying the word unique, I think, when it comes to Kenneth Williams. We talk about certain comedians like Tommy Cooper, Tony Hancock. They were often described as grotesque, though larger than life. And I think Kenneth Williams is that in his own unique, is that word again, way. People, I think, were just drawn to him. And I was certainly drawn to him as a young man, as a kid. Just very joyous. Within Round the Horne, Cook and Feldman were very astute in very much the same way that Galton and Simpson were very astute when writing Hancock, in that they would write the characters, they would write the characters for the characters. So, for example, with Kenneth Williams in Round the Horne, he obviously had quite a haughty manner and so forth and all this business, and they used that to great effect. So of course there are those moments in the film spoofs where, you know, you've got a run through of whatever, you know, Kenneth Hall, Master Spy, or version of Florian, Picture of Dorian Gray, for example, Florian Thrust. Kenneth would almost seem to put the script down and say, this is absolute rubbish, I'm not doing this, it's a disgrace. And of course it sounds, especially in the 60s and on the radio, it almost sounds, it's real, but of course this is all very carefully scripted. And again, a testament to both Took and Feldman's genius. They could write for every single one of their actors, knowing that they could create a persona for them that they could all fall back on and use to great comic effect. Round the Horne is still funny 50 years later because it's good. The writing is fantastic, the performances are fantastic. They are repeated continuously along with great other BBC comedies on Radio 4 Extra. You've got good writing, you've got good performances, you have intelligent performances and intelligent writing. You don't need anything else. It's there, it's manic, it's funny, and it's wonderful.